Day 2 of the Diablo 4 public test realm for Season 8 has been completed. I wanted to go over everything that I found with you. It was actually a very successful day. I was very happy with the results of the testing. So we're going to cover everything just like we promised. We'll update every single day with what we got done, how it happened, and then what my findings were. I did 2 separate streams yesterday. I'm going to have both of the VODs linked down here. If you wanted to walk through them, you can skip ahead, jump around, kind of see what I did. But I was all over the place. We unlocked some quests. We did some whispers. We did everything that we could do to test out that leveling process from Paragon level 42 up to level 128. Doing all of those extra things took me about 10 hours and 20-ish minutes to get there. And during that time, we did a lot. I unlocked the Infernal Hordes quest, which definitely took some time, but I wanted to see if I could get into the Infernal Hordes, and then I never actually got to get into the Infernal Hordes. We unlocked all of the boss powers. We tested bosses at higher tiers to see if I could kill them or not. Some of them were successful, some of them were not, but it was actually a lot of fun. So we'll go over the leveling process first. I started with pit runs. We did pit runs that I could do in about 3 to 4 minutes, and that didn't include going as high as I possibly could. Just whatever tier was able to do that, that's kind of what I started out with. My glyphs ended up being about level 15 to level 34 was the range when I finished up the night. It was a great source of leveling up the Paragon. The boss XP at the very end of the pit run is actually really great for your Paragon levels. We were getting 2 to 3 levels per kill, so that was really good. We unlocked the Infernal Hordes. Like I said, I didn't get to run any, so we'll be doing some of that today. We did a lot of Nightmare Dungeon farming because I wanted to get some Opticite so I could start masterworking my gear. By the end of the night, I'll show you exactly what the gear looked like by the time we were done masterworking everything and what we were able to do. And when I got into Torment 4, I went around, and as part of that process, I did collect all of the boss powers. I'm just missing one of them because I keep on forgetting to go to the world boss and get the one last power that I need. And Helltides was actually a great way for me to level up to. Getting the Whisper caches were very, very helpful. Lots of materials, lots of gear. Really great place to target farm the gear that you're looking for. You know that you want a weapon, you go to the weapons chest, you save up enough cinders in order to get those weapon chests. So that was a really great place for me to go and level up the Paragon board and also find some of the gear that I was looking for. Notable boss powers. I went and I killed Andariel, and I put her boss power on, and wow, it is actually a lot of fun to use, and it does some big, big damage. So let's talk a little bit about the looting process. I did say that I went into Helltides, and that was a really great source. I got all of the tempering manuals that I needed from Helltides from all of the Whisper caches. It was a really great source of getting your legendary tempers. I sometimes got 2 to 3 of them per Whisper cache. So making sure that you get into Helltides, or you just go to any zone that gives you whispers. A really, really fun way to do this is if you hop into the game and you go into your map, you can actually find bosses that have whispers right here. So just like coming to Andariel. Now you don't have to have the materials in order to get the whispers. You can go summon the boss on any Torment tier, and you can get those 5 whispers very, very quickly. You can even teleport there now because that's one of the new features. You just click here, you teleport, you summon Andariel because it's free, doesn't cost any materials. You kill her, and then you get those 5 whispers. You can bounce around from boss to boss getting those whispers, especially early on. It's really, really great source of gold, really great source of materials, and your tempering manuals. The Obal vendor was fixed. In the current Season 7, it is definitely a little bit underwhelming. They talked about that in the last video that the devs posted, and they delivered on the fix. This is where I got a pretty big majority of my GA gear. I did find some drops, but a lot of the good gear came from the Obal vendors. I'll show you exactly what it looks like now, so you can see the difference in the current Season 7 versus now. So as you can see, my slashing weapon is still 750. So I saved up some Obals, you come over to the vendor here, and then you're just gonna buy some of your materials here, and then you'll get some GA gear. So it took me about 2,500, but we were able to get 1 piece of gear that is actually exactly what I needed. So now we have our GA gear. On other times that I've been gambling, I actually was able to find several. We have it in the VOD, you can go back and see, we did some rings. Got 4 GA rings in 1 full stash. That is way better than what we're getting in the current season. So this is going to be a really great source for you to get some of the GA gear early on when you're going to start farming for your gear in the pits. And then you can also get Obals from doing Helltides. And a really great source was running into some of the Obal goblins. This was really, really fun because that gave you a big boost. It was like 1,300-ish that I got for Obals, and I was able to get myself some better gear. So after day 1, as you saw, I was missing 1 piece of GA gear, and that was my pole arms. So the GA drop rate is definitely not terrible, but the gear definitely came along as I was going, so it was really great to see. So now we're going to go over some of the gameplay feedback that I have for the devs that we're going to be leaving for the incursions. A couple things that I did notice. Some of them can be very, very far from the waypoint. They disappear off the maps after they start. So if anybody else wanted to join that current incursion that was going on, maybe they're close to it, they wouldn't be able to see it on the map because the icon disappears after the start of it. It's kind of like a Legion event where it disappears, but it would be nice if it can stay open so that people can run in and join in the middle of it so that they know exactly where to go. Or maybe you're the only one that showed up in the morning or something and you want someone else to join you. That would be a nice little feature change. Sometimes there's a little bit of a long run between the monsters that the first boss spawns and then the second boss spawns. That kind of leaves you just hopping on a horse, running past a whole bunch of monsters that you really can't kill. So I found myself wanting to kill the monsters that were around me, but then realizing that I had to run to the next one. So I hopped on my horse and I just kind of skipped through everything and I went to the very end and went to the next spot where I can start killing monsters again. We had some changes to the tempering UI. It was actually a really, really nice feature. Just like enchanting, you don't have to actually go back and reselect the temper anymore. You can just leave it exactly where it is and keep on redoing and redoing and redoing the same temper. Normally when we're tempering, we're only going to be putting the same one, so we won't be switching very often. It also works switching between pieces of gear. You can put one piece of gear on, let's say it's a weapon, and you know that you're going to temper your other weapon with the same exact one. You just swap the piece of gear in, and the temper remains there. The only thing that I noticed with this is that you can't cancel the temper that's in there unless you close down the whole entire thing and reopen it. Slight change, but we'll definitely report that so that when it does hit the live servers, you don't have to close down the blacksmith every time that you want to start with a brand new piece of gear, going from something like a weapon to a piece of armor. I didn't get to test too many places to get the boss material drops from yet, but going through the Hell Tides, I was able to get 15 living steel, which is more than enough to get one loot chest just from a single greater chest. The lesser chest only gave me like 1 to 2. That was on Torment 3, so as you go up into the Torment tiers, it gets a little bit more. But I think the variance between the greater chest and the lesser chest maybe has a little bit too much of a gap, but we'll see what ends up happening when we hit the live servers. With the high cost of the materials at 12 for all of the lesser bosses, with the high cost of the bosses for the lesser bosses, so you have 12 for all of the lower tier of the bosses, it makes it so that if you are going to try and go and help your friends out, it's a lot of materials. If you are the only one that has boss mats, you're going to need a total of 48 of them to give to your friends in order to have your friends open up the chest. So while group play is encouraged with the increased amount of drops from having people in your party, they all will absolutely need to have their own materials because that is definitely a lot of an upfront cost for just one person if they want to bring their friends along and help them out with some of the gear. I do absolutely love the feature where you can go in and you can test the bosses for free. It was really, really nice because I moved up and down Torment tiers constantly to see if I was ready for it or not. It was a really great way for me to test out the new power that I had found that day. The boss teleporting is a great feature. I absolutely love being able to just click on the boss. I do have to admit that the very first boss that I went to go kill, Duriel, I hopped on my horse and I ran straight out of town and I ran right to there. And as soon as I clicked on the portal, I realized that I could have just teleported there. So that was a really nice change and a great moment for me. The one and only thing that I wanted to address with the devs is that when you go to the Darkened Way, and for anybody that doesn't know where that is, if you go to your map here, you're going to have to click on the Darkened Way in order to find the lair to get to Zir. So if you do want to teleport, that's how you're going to have to do it. So just make sure that you know that. You come right over here, and then you go to the Darkened Way, and then you click. I'm sure that'll probably end up changing. We can adjust that as the season goes live. For the uniques, I haven't got to do many bosses yet, so I don't really know what the drop rate feels like. The boost is now open, so I'll be able to grab some Obals, and we'll see how many drop from the vendors. And then we'll also be able to get into some bosses and do some more testing and see if the drop rate for uniques is going to keep up with the rest of the gear, or if we're going to need to see some adjustments when the season hits. And we talked a little bit already about the gear itself and the GA gear. This was the setup that allowed me to get into Torment 4 with just 2 pieces of 750 gear and the masterworking, most of it being at either 4 or 8. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I was very surprised. You actually only need to unlock Pit 55 in order to get into Torment 4. So I was very surprised when I got to unlocking Pit 55 and it said Torment 4 on it. We went through, we killed it. I did go into Hell Tides after I unlocked Torment 4 to see how it felt killing monsters. I definitely wasn't walking around one-shotting things, but I was still able to kill monsters in Torment 4 with this setup. Now, as you know, masterworking is incredibly important. It adds a ton of power to your character. If I was fully masterworked, I had the setup that I wanted, more Paragon points, walking into Torment 4, at least on a Barbarian, hopefully the other classes are having the same success that I had, on a Barbarian walking into Torment 4 with this gear on actually felt okay. And it did feel like as I progressed and as I walked through and as I earned the gear that I need to get, it's going to feel even better. And I'm not going to be slogging through it like it's going to be a super long, laggy grind. Now, I know that I have a lot of experience playing Diablo 4, so there are going to be a lot of people that will definitely feel the increase in the power that it's going to need in order to get from Torment 1 to Torment 4. So that's going to be where we're going to do a little bit more testing once the servers go live and see if we can find some ways, and I'll make sure that I post some videos on the best way in order to get your character from Torment 1 to Torment 4. It's going to be a little bit different, but again, masterworking is going to be your best friend, so don't wait on it. Make sure you masterwork early and everything. But what it did leave me with was an actual sense of accomplishment. I was very, very surprised that I got to Torment 4. I was very impressed that my character was able to make it there, and the build that I put together was actually able to make it into Torment 4 and feel like it was progressing. So we'll see what the servers feel like when they come up and they're live, but I really did enjoy the process of getting myself into Torment 4. We'll do some off-meta builds testing and stuff to see what that feels like as well. I don't know what's going to be the meta. I just threw a bunch of things together, Mighty Throw, Quakes, and a little bit of lunging strikes with some boss powers, and it was a lot of fun to do. If you have the opportunity to play on the public test realm, absolutely hop on, test a couple things out, hit up the forums. They have opened a special forum for feedback. I'm going to say this in every single video that we post because it is important. It may feel like they aren't listening at some points, but I promise you they are. Take your feedback, head over to the forums and post it there. Even if you're on console and you're just watching and you see a couple things that you would like to see done differently, head to the forums, post what you've seen and what you've been watching. Well, you know who came here today? Marak just hit the scene, so we're going to go test out some of the end game builds. I'm very excited to hop into it. Thank you everybody for watching. We're going to update you with some more of the end game builds and the end game testing and see how it feels. I'm live every night. I'd love it if you stopped by, said hi, theory crafted with me. Catch you on the clip side.